what happens is, as bartenders, as rum drinkers, as rum enthusiasts, master distillers, and maceroneros, as like a mixologist. Oh no, mixologist, like proctologist. They know what they do. What they do is they throw rum into one category and just say rum, as opposed to saying Jamaica rum, your mum. Barbados rum, Venezuelan rum, Puerto Rican rum. These are all different styles of rums. These are all rums made in countries that have rules and regulations on what they define as rum. So we shouldn't be comparing rums from different islands against each other, because we don't do that with whiskey. When was the last time someone came in and asked for a scotch and you gave them a bourbon? Yeah? They're both whiskeys, but the bourbons are from America, should be from America, rules and regulations. Scotch is from Scotland, Cyprus. Irish whiskey is one of my favorite styles of whiskey as well. Again, different rules and regulations to Scotch. Yeah? Canadian whiskey, different rules and regulations. So we have that in rum. And that's why we have to start thinking of the rum category in a way where we think about where it's made, the country of origin, the geographical indication that defines the rum. Yeah? That's my little soapbox moment, just to get you to understand a little bit about the category of rum. So, when I talk about African Caribbean, this is Equiano. Two of the islands I work a lot with when I travel around the world is Mauritius and Barbados. Two of my favorite islands. So naturally I'm going to ask them, can I borrow some of your rum for my blend? I come to Venezuela one day. Can I borrow some of your rum for my blend? So we created what we see as a world-class spirit. Only because it can be used in many different ways by you expert bartenders. No active, no sugar, no colorants. It's just all flavor from the barrels out there. And because of that, it's won lots of awards. We've only been in existence for about 2.5 years as a brand. But every competition Equiano has been entered in has won a gold medal in blind tastings. That's the International Wine and Spirits, International Spirit Challenge, Concours Mondial. So obviously I've paid the judges a little bit of money, or they like the taste of the product. But again, there are so many different styles of rums out there, but there's obviously appeals to some of the judges and their talents. So we're very, very happy. Actually, in our first year, which is 2020, we entered the rum into the IWSC, and we was named as one of the 9 best rums in the world, according to the judges on that competition. All these are brands, are all old and established, and little tiny Equiano we've been going for, and I'd only been going for 6 months. It's sitting side by side with companies like Trois-Rivières from Martinique, Dornies from Barbados, Rumbar from Jamaica. Has anyone been to Jamaica?
Unfortunately, I have.
Not yet, we're welcome. The name, very important. So when people ask me in England, what is my ethnicity? I say I'm British, Jamaican, or African Caribbean. Yeah, that's what I'm defined as, African Caribbean.
Thank you very much.
So I said, well, why don't we have a famous Caribbean or famous African on the bottle? Because you don't see many Caribbean or African men or women. You don't see much women on the bottles. Why is that? Why don't we see more women's names on the bottles of spirits? Why not? Should be. Especially as they can taste and understand and make the spirits better than a lot of men out there. So I wanted to actually have some of my heritage on the name of the bottle. So Equiano, this guy here was an African that was enslaved, taken to Barbados, and then from Barbados he was then taken to the UK. And that's the same journey our rum makes. I'm going to let you into that as we get onto the tasting. The other thing about this guy was when he was 21 in the 17th century, he bought his own freedom by selling rum and spices. He went on to write a book, and the book went on to help the abolition of slavery in the colonies. So a very, very powerful person I wanted to pay homage to with the rum, Equiano. So let's talk about the rum and the journey. Everyone get their little, oh, you guys. Hey, no one gave me a cocktail. It's good enough. Oh, you know, sure. Thank you. I can't believe they dismissed me out.
You were talking, you were busy.
Ooh, that's fruity. Nice fruity. But you can have the first cocktail anytime you want. It's nice and cold, it's very hot inside here, so I thought we'd cool you down. Ooh, nice. Anyway, so let's start with the rum. Has anyone ever been to Mauritius? Yes, who said yes? Oh, nice. Oh, you got your honeymoon? Or was you competing out there? Was you competing? Did you win? You say for 4 days. You tell me if you won the competition. But did you win the competition? Oh, just went and sunbathed. Mauritius, beautiful island. The whole island is covered in sugarcane. Sugarcane everywhere. We call it the Green Island. So they've got a lot of sugarcane. It's very important. They use that sugarcane for rum. Bear in mind, another important fact, all rums have to be made from a byproduct of sugarcane. Very important. But not all sugarcane spirits are rum. Another important fact to remember. So when someone comes to you and they say, oh, Brazil sells loads of rum, they sell a little bit of rum, but they sell loads of cachaça. Cachaça is not rum. Cachaça is cachaça. Because the Brazilians say that. You ever go to Mexico, there's a really beautiful tasting sugarcane spirit from a small little tiny region, I can't remember the name of the region, but all the ground, the grass is all red, and they have a spirit called charanda. Now it's made from sugarcane, it's distilled in pot stills, but it's not rum, it's charanda. Yeah, so all rums have to be made from sugarcane, but not all sugarcane spirits are rum. Actually, the world's biggest selling gin, San Miguel Geneva from the Philippines, 35 million cases a year is made from sugarcane. So that's not a rum, it's a gin. They turn it to vodka, they mess it up, and then they add some, sorry, vodka. Anyway, so back to Mauritius. We're in the island of Mauritius, East Africa. So we go to the Gray's Distillery. The Gray's Distillery own their own estates, sugar estates, and all the sugarcane they use, they've cultivated, they've grown over the years. And it's good for us as a company because we have then traceability. We can look and see how they treat their workers. We can see if the conditions are fair, if they're using chemicals on their cane. So we can see and trace all that back, and that's why we're satisfied with using these guys. So they get the sugar cane, transport it to the refinery, wash it, mill it, turn it into beautiful sugar. They normally call the sugar from Mauritius Demerara sugar. Can't believe that. Demerara is in the Guyana, South America, next door to you, Venezuela, and the Guyanese forgot to register the name. Demerara for sugar. They've registered for rum, so Demerara rum has to come from Demerara region in Guyana. But Demerara sugar is a style of sugar now. So all the Demerara, most of the Demerara sugar we get here in Europe comes from Mauritius. If you're making lots of sugar, the leftovers is molasses, beautiful, beautiful, treacle, liquish, smelling molasses. So 50% of the rums in Mauritius are made from molasses. The other 50% is made from fresh sugarcane juice. Unlike Venezuela, they don't use syrup, they just go cane juice, molasses. You can use syrup, it's the third raw material used to make rum. So you got your molasses, put it in your fermentation tank with some yeast, some water, and as we know with yeast, all the yeast does is eat sugar and then pees out alcohol. A bit like some of you guys last night. And this morning, you know you drank a lot. So that's what the yeast does. It pees alcohol, it lets off some gas, CO2, but it goes to work and eats all those sugars and dies in its own feces. But anyway, I'll get into the technical stuff. But I won't go into this technical stuff in case you guys are geeky. The rum that comes from Mauritius, single column, the traditional rum making column, 38 place 80 for rectification. It comes off the still at 94% ABV. 94% ABV. So that rum is then mellowed out and then put into various different casks, but the main barrels they use in Mauritius are once used cognac barrels that are made from French oak. And that's because Mauritius used to be a French colony. Actually before French, it was Dutch. Netherlands here? No one from Netherlands? Anyone been to Netherlands? I bet you have. You've been to Netherlands. Oh, you're been to Netherlands. So the Dutch, they're very famous for traveling around the world, planting sugarcane here and there, and in Mauritius, eating and killing all the dodos. I think they had a bit of hot sauce. But all of those birds are extinct. So they planted sugarcane there, And then the French, being the French, you know France here? Yeah. The French being the French, they said, no, we will take these from you. And they slapped up the Dutch, kicked them off the island, took the island. And then the English, as they always do, invaded the island, tried to slap the French up, but the French were tough. And then they had a treaty. They said, forget the Portuguese, forget the Spanish, forget everybody else, the Dutch. We'll split the whole world into two. You can have half, and we'll have half. The French said to the English, you can have Mauritius and Canada. And then the French kept Guadeloupe, Martinique, Reunion. They get to all the beautiful, sexy places in the Caribbean. So it has a little bit of French culture and a little bit of English culture. So half the rum, most of the rums are aged in once-used French barrels, French oak, that once-aged cognac. Yeah. So the Equiano rum that you're going to try, the first one you're going to try is original, not yet, but the original. That was aged in a cognac barrel for a minimum of 10 years. Minimum of 10 years in cognac casks.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, sir, please, sir.
How much is the strength in the bottle? How many degrees is the strength of the cask?
Excellent question. How strong is the rum when it goes into cask? Around between 64 and 65% ABV. So they water it down to 64 to 65. Going too strong. Yeah, from 94 off the still. Yeah, off the still, and you water it down before they put it into the barrels. You don't want to put it too strong in there because first of all it evaporates most of it, and then it's going to take out too much tannin, too much stuff out of the barrels.
Here's the code.
The rum we blended it. Oh, this one no. This one is 43. Yeah, it's 1.5 in Barbados.
What's the capacity of the cognac barrels? The capacity of the cognac.
500. 500
liters.
Yeah, 500 liters cognac barrels. Is that good? You guys are good. Question, man. Why you guys not chicken cigarette? So once the rum is aged for 10 years in the beautiful tropics, and bearing in mind, it is the tropics, it's very funny for me to talk about the tropics to people from Cyprus, because you guys have tropical weather most of the year round. This is beautiful. This is proper tropical weather. This is why rum will taste better in this weather than it would in cold England. Nothing worse than drinking a spirit. It's cold in tropical weather. But so it's good and bad for aging. Why is it good? Because you can get to the sweet spot quicker. Let me show you. So everyone knows the angel share in Scotland and Ireland, the angel share, the evaporation of spirits as it expands in the wood of the barrels and goes up to the angels. And the angels still take their whiskey for free, but you need that to get the flavor and the complexity of your whiskey in Scotland or in Ireland. But if we compare that to the duppy share in the bad angels of the Caribbean, or the duppies, because they're really bad. Actually, a duppy's a ghost or a zombie, but we call it a duppy share. They take a lot more rum than the angels take whiskey. I'll show you this. So in Scotland, you lose about 2 to 3% of your whiskey every year through evaporation. But Scotland's not very warm, quite cold. You live in Scotland, don't you? You know how cold Scotland is. It's bloody freezing. And then he did come from Canada, so that's even colder. Scotland, 2 to 3%. Kentucky. Now, Kentucky is very hot in the summer, but very cold in the winter. So on average, they're losing 2 to 5% of their whiskey every year through evaporation. Cognac, a bit similar to cold Scotland, 2 to 3% they're losing through evaporation. But in the tropics, we're intense. We lose a lot of alcohol. You know why? Because we're fiery, we're hot, as we like to say. Same as in Venezuela, they're hot. They lose a lot of rum through evaporation. About 6 to 10% you can lose. So it means your rum is aging 2 to 3 times faster in warmer climates than say whiskey in cooler climates. Yeah, now it doesn't mean it's 2 to 3 times better. In some cases it is. It just means you get to that sweet spot a lot quicker. And this is the reason why you don't see incredibly old rums on a regular basis. You see some companies like Appleton, they have some very old inventory. Because they started planting in the 1950s and 1960s. So you will see some rums that are that old. But most rums that you're going to see that's sold to most of the customers out there are going to be extensively aged, 12 years, 15 years, possibly 20 year, but the stocks are quite low because of that evaporation. Now, I know you're going to ask a question. You're going to ask a question. Good question. I know you're going to ask that. He was going to say, wait a minute, so if you put the rum inside a barrel and it evaporates, after several years, will there be nothing left in the barrel? Great question, good question. No, what they do is they consolidate barrels. You may start off with 100 barrels, and after a couple of years, you top up those barrels with the same age rum. So instead of being 100, at the end of 1 year, 2 years, you might have 98, 95, 90. You consolidate the barrels, and more liquid inside there, less evaporation. Not a Solera system. 100% no, because you're topping up with the same age. With Solera system, yeah, correct. Solera system, you'll be using younger rums in there and trying to use the older rums to educate the younger rums. Yeah, so slightly different. Solera system aging is great. Solera system marketing is bullshit. Oh, thank you. Someone agrees with me. Yeah, I like it. It's the way of anybody. Marketing, oh man, when you tell someone that your rum is paying homage to Michael Jordan, you stick 23 on the label, then no, and it's not 23 years old, there's something wrong there. I'm not going to say which rum it is, but it starts with a Z and ends in Akka. Right, so the rum, 10-year-old, Mauritius, goes all the way from East Africa, and we send it all the way to Barbados. Someone to Barbados. I asked that question before, didn't I? And no one has. Anyway, we go to Barbados. Why Barbados? Barbados is the home of rum. It pains me and hurts me to say that as a Jamaican. There's a rivalry between Barbados and Jamaica. We have the best athletes, they have the best cricket players, we have the best food, their island's flat like a Koinch.
You have a good weed.
Oh yeah, we have good weed? Yeah. Oh, I didn't say that. Anyway, so Barbados, the reason why I call it the home of rum, because for many, many years, sugarcane spirits were being made circa 1200s, 1300s, but in different parts of the world, but it was never called rum. Actually, in Brazil, they call it cachaça in around 1530s, 1540s. They didn't start calling rum until they came to Barbados. At first it was called Kill Devil. That was around 1630s, 1640s, and then there's a very famous text that said the chief public on the island that they drink is Kill Devil alias Rum Bullion. Rum Bullion was the name that was given to Kill Devil in Barbados around the 1650s. Now, Rum Bullion is too long a word for the best spirit in the world, so it's condensed down to the word rum. That's where the word rum came from. Okay? Bit of history there, just in case you want to go back and tell everybody, I'm going to be a better rum ambassador than Ian Burrell.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Right, so Barbados, the Mauritian rum. Remember, it's Mauritius. How old is it? Rum that we sent to Barbados? How old is the rum that we sent to Barbados? Minimum is 10, yes! Somebody's listening, yes. Back in the class. So 10-year-old, we send that to Foursquare, where they say they do it right. We send it to Foursquare, which is a beautiful place. Now, the Mauritian rum was a single column still. The Barbados rum that goes into Equiano is a blend of pot and column. So Equiano is a blend of pot and column still rums. Yeah, blend of pot and column still rums. Double retorted, pot makers common in Italy in Barbados. Comes off the pot still about 82% ABV. Yeah, a lot of flavor, texture in it. They're column still, continuous, 40 copper plates, comes off between 94 and 95. So 2 rums they make. They age them, blend them together, and then they age them in American oak.
When you send when the rum travels from Mauritius to Barbados, you send them in some barrels until the agents continue, which is stop.
You guys are asking the questions you're asking is just brilliant. So he said, when we send the rum from Mauritius to Barbados, do we send them in barrels? In other words, are they continue aging? No, we do it static. So in ICO classic barrels, and then it goes from one place, so it stops aging. It doesn't continue aging. So the Barbados component, 6-7% evaporation every year. Many, many different types of casks they use in Barbados, from wine casks to sherry casks, Zinfandel, Calvados, for double maturation. When I say double maturation, slightly different from finishing. You know Scots, I'm thinking of Scots, they love to say, oh, we finished in this. But because you're in the Caribbean, you're losing so much alcohol every year, it's not really a finishing, it's another maturation. Especially if you go 2, 3, 4 years in another type of barrel, So it should be double maturation. First one was in American oak, second one was in Zinfandel or port cask or sherry cask. So it's double maturation. 65 to 68% is when they go into barrels, aged for a minimum of 8 tropical years. That's the second one, 8 tropical years. Yeah, they are longer than actual years. Tropical years, yeah, it's intense. You've seen it, have you ever seen an 8-year-old Caribbean? They're very advanced. Very advanced. Grown up very quickly. Richard Seal, that was our master blender, Richard Seal, one of my business partners. And that's the team at Barbados, very small team at Foursquare. And their job is not only to make some of the best rums in the world, but also keep riffraff from sleeping on barrels inside the warehouse. You always get these people that go into warehouses and sleep on the barrels, make love to the rum, all those types of stuff. So they throw it down. Looks like me, but it's not me. I think that's Will Smith. Yeah. So, the rum is then sent to the bottling plant. And there you have it. Equiano. Nice and simple. 2 rums, one from Mauritius, one from Barbados, blended together, ready inside your glass to taste. Love to get your opinions on it because it's still new. Just in case, I don't know if there's any sound in this, but if you need any extra help with the tasting notes, I think I've got some sound effects like you're in Barbados. I can't hear it. Just imagine you're in Barbados and seeing this. Make some cricket noise. Ooh, that's not bad. Who made this?
Oh yes.
Oh yes. What do you feel? What do you feel? Raisins and chocolates. Ooh, I like that. Raisins, chocolates. Is that just from the nose or the taste? Huh? Vanilla. Bit of vanilla. Yeah, that will come from the American oak.
I love it. It's very complex, but in the lips is some spiciness.
Yes, yes, a lot of spiciness as well. A lot of the spiciness actually is coming from the French oak, from the Mauritian rum, French oak inside it. How's our maestro? And this is the master over here. He knows his rums. How's it fair? Okay, is it okay? Oh yes!
He's going to hug you.
Hey, when someone who's been making rum for over 40 years says tastes good, I'm happy with that. Very happy. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. I'd like to take credit for this, but I did do a blend at home in my kitchen, and I got one rum from Mauritius, one rum from Barbados, one together. I gave it to Richard in Barbados, and he went, "Yeah, Ian, don't give up your daytime job, but I know what you want." Thank you. So yes, so that's the Equiano original. Beautiful by itself, beautiful in a cocktail, beautiful neat with ice. One of my favorite ways of twist of orange, just over the top of that. Thank you. Oh, you clapped me off. Yeah, but one of the questions that I know you're going to ask, great question. Ian, is it a sipping rum? No, it's not a sipping rum. It's a drinking rum. It's a drinking rum. You drink it. If you want to sip it, sip it. You want to drink it in a cocktail? Drink a cocktail. You want to mix it with Red Bull? Mix it with Red Bull. Maybe not.
It's a crime.
It's a crime, I know. Unless you're in Austria, it's a crime. But no, for me, my philosophy is drink rum the way you want to drink it. That's how I am as a bartender. I'm like, you come in my place and say I want the most expensive product mixed with Coca-Cola, no problem. I'll just make sure it's the best expensive whatever with Coca-Cola you've ever had.
And that person will never come back to your place, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So that is Equiano. So once it's bottled in your glass, it heads over to Europe. If you ever come to London, give me a call and we'll have a drink of Equiano at the same place where Equiano lived in the 18th century. It's Tottenham Court Road, Rhinehouse Street in fact. And they've actually got a little blue plaque just there to commemorate his name and what he did and what he stood for in history. So we can have a drink here. It's always nice to go back to a home of some sort to have a sip of rum. And that's the man and that's the book. Equiano.
You're developing a new category.
Huh?
There is not only rum, there is not a new category. How
Pretty
you call
much.
it? How you call it?
I still call it this African Caribbean, but I just say premium rum.
Premium rum.
Yeah, because I want the general consumers to understand that rums can be premium.
Yeah.
Diplomático is one of those brands that have been pushing that over the last few years, getting people to think, oh, I can sip this rum, I can sip this by itself.
But you can also get
having
drugs
a
with
cigar. Yeah. So it's about helping to elevate the category. That's
Exactly.
why I see Equiano Rum. It's, for me, it's rising tides, floats all boats.
The best of
more
both worlds.
quality rums out there, the better it is for the category. So that's the original. I'm glad to see you have got no more. Yes. The light. Now, did everyone get a daiquiri at the start? Everyone got a daiquiri? Yeah. Good, good. So the daiquiri was made with the Equiano Light. Equiano Light, a little bit of agave real. Make it agave real. Where is it? Throw it up. Just, what's it? You don't throw it, but just put it up. Oh, there you go. In case you need to make it at home, make sure you use 100% blue agave, none of that fake stuff. Syrup, there you go. So use Equiano Light, agave real, a bit of fresh lime, and a bit of grapefruit juice. You've got a bit of grapefruit inside there. So the light was made because, being a bartender, I always love to blend and make rum, but I also wanted to create rum for bartenders to use in slightly different ways. Premium light rums. Yeah? Premium light rums. What's the difference between a premium light rum and a premium white rum? Anyone? Yeah? Color? Could be, yeah, color. What do you say? Premium light rum, premium white rum? What it is, what I say is a light rum can be water white, but it also can be light colored, as in the color. But you can have heavy white rums. You can have heavy white rums. Has anyone ever tried Ray Nephew overproof from Jamaica? Oh, come on, that's a heavy white rum. 63% ABV, like 95% hot still. Beautiful tasting rum. That's a heavy rum. I would never call that a light rum, but it's water white. So when I say light rum, this is a light bodied rum, light rum. Lightly aged. You see a little bit of color on there. And the reason why it's got a bit of color in there, because again, it's two rums blended together. And here is the bartending part comes into play. When I first used to learn about Mai Tais, I thought that Mai Tai had molasses after Ray Nephew 17. When that ran out, bartenders then thought that the rum that was used in the Mai Tai was a blend of rums from Jamaica and Martinique. And we always associate Martinique with agricole. And when I say agricole, we mean rums made from fresh sugarcane juice. Fresh sugarcane juice, not molasses. But then I found out after reading the text and tasting rums, it wasn't agricole, it was still molasses rum, just made in Martinique. There's two molasses rum. But we still continue to do this in the bar, getting a little bit of a, let's say, Bacardi. Bacardi Continental Superior. Get a bit of that, that's made from molasses, and add a bit of fresh sugarcane juice rum to it. Mix it around, and it changes the whole flavor of the rum, and use that for the base of a cocktail. And that's what we've done here. We've got fresh sugarcane juice rum, so you can smell the cane juice. On there, the agricole. Some might even say it smells a little bit like the shasa in a way. Because that again, that's made from cane juice. But the color, that's come from rum that's been aged for 3 years in once used America from Barbados. So this is a blend of 3-year-old rum from Barbados and unaged rum, fresh sugarcane juice rum from Mauritius. So two rums again blended together. 43% alcohol. Because we want to try to elevate some of the light cocktails out there, daiquiri for me is the king of rum cocktails. It is, for me, rum, lime, and sugar, the rum trinity. The punch is okay up there as well, but the daiquiri is the king. And for me, I wanted to have a rum that I like light rums in daiquiris more than heavy rums, so I wanted to have a rum that really goes well with a daiquiri. So, ready for the next one? Gracias. I'm not going to say that. Say thank you again.
Yeah, thanks.
Can
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
When you say agricultural, you mean from fresh to
Yes. Yep, agriculture rum from fresh sugar cane juice. Yep. And a lot of countries are doing this now because the price of sugar is going down. You have all this sugar cane growing, so you might as well just make straight rum. And a lot of people were doing that back in the days. It's not a new thing. They were doing this when they were making rum at the start. Depends on who you sold sugar to. Yeah, it wasn't just the French islands. If you could sell sugar, you make more of your rum from molasses. If you couldn't sell sugar, you make most of your rum from juice. That's just supply and demand. So, oh,
Very oily. Oily.
oh, great. It's very oily. A lot of oiliness and texture in it. Actually, had a couple of Italian bartenders that said it reminded me of olive oil. They were thinking of some cocktails using olive oil inside there. But very, very oily. And a lot of that's coming from the cane juice rum in there. But the sweetness and the villainous at the bottom, is coming from the aged rum that's blended into this brand. Again, another award winner. Very, very fortunate to win a few awards. But yeah, again, for me, it's all about education. It's all about showing and sharing. Thank you, sir. Always forget me.
He can get it.
It's all about sharing education and knowledge about the rum category, and I see these two brands of rum as helping that, showing that you can have light rums with complexity and flavor to use in light cocktails, and with the original, they are great in some classic drinks. You don't have to always have whiskey. As in, oh, you like this one? Oh, she's like, well, make sure that you made them good. Ooh, you did a great, hey, you did a great job. Oh, this is one of my favorite ways of drinking Equiano. This is in a cocktail called the Freedom Hand, or Free Hand. It's a twist on the right hand, which is a twist on a rum Negroni. So this is Equiano, it's Campari, it's sweet vermouth, and 3 dashes of chocolate bitters. So you should get a bit of chocolate on the end. Yeah, for the free hand. I said twist the right hand. Who's listening? No, but use Equiano. You have to use Equiano in the right hand. You have to use Equiano in there. Of course I can. Have you not seen how to use a cocktail competition where I made a brunch martini? Anyway, the proportions are different. That's the other thing. Proportions are different. You can't be exactly the same. There you go. So, and the freedom hand, the right hand is served in a champagne group. This is always served in the box. We can argue on. Anyway, right, so that's Equiano Light, Equiano Original. These are the tasting notes. Don't listen to the tasting notes because everyone has their own ideas of tasting notes. And the thing is, if anyone here has got one of the 3 C's, you're not going to smell and taste anything anyway. So, and the first C, you know, is cold. I know people don't have colds anymore. The second C, as you know, is COVID. Yeah. Why is everyone scared to say COVID? Say it. COVID.
I had COVID.
I haven't had it yet, but anyway. But yeah, so if you had COVID, yeah, you've got COVID now. Should be here. If you haven't, you don't smell anything. And the last C is a cheeky C you might have done in the toilet before you came here. I'm not going to judge you, but if you've done it, you might not be able to smell anything. Cheeky C. Right, so that's me done. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. By the way, if anyone does have questions on Equiano now, I'm here all day. You can ask me questions, quite happy. But if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm at Lost and Found, having a drink, get my groove on, don't come and ask me about fractional distillation, how many staves inside the barrels, inside the rums you use, or what's the dress size of the master blender that makes the rum. No, do not ask me that at 1 o'clock in the morning. No. Ask me now, or forever hold your peace. So any questions? Oh, yes, good question. Yes, oh, you're very observant there. So as a company, when I set this up, basically I wanted to have some philanthropic, what's called a mindset, where we wanted to give back and do good. So once we make a profit as a company, 5% will go to our foundation. Our foundation at the moment is working with a company called Anti-Slavery International, which is the oldest people trafficking organization in the world. But until we make a profit, what we do is donate $2, €2, or £2 to every bottle we sell. That's the first thing that came to our head. But in the first year when we launched, we weren't expected to give much, and we weren't expected to sell as much as we did, so we gave them a really nice check at the end of 2020. So it's just a little bit, but it helps. And what we want to do is raise awareness and raise attention. That's why we do a lot of charitable work. And actually, if you go onto our website, you can see our videos of what we've done in conjunction with Anti-Slavery International in places like Mozambique, in India, and now they're doing stuff with Ukraine as well. So we want to just basically do our little piece just by someone having a sip of rum. So that's the reason why we do that.
You don't have to say the name or something. If there are more Equianos coming in the future.
Yes, good question. We have another Equiano coming. That will be our core range, the light and the original. We do have some, we call exceptional blends, small releases that will be coming out. The one that's actually in barrels at the moment, or being battered together, is a vintage from 2010. Both rums were distilled in 2010 in Mauritius and in Barbados. One is French oak, one is American oak, and we're going to bottle it at 52% ABV.
Nice.
52. We're doing it at 52 because Equiano was 52 years old when he died. We're doing it at 11 because he was 11 years old when he was kidnapped and taken to Barbados. So that's the reason why.
You can send it to me, no worries.
Oh yeah, of course. And it'll be called Ominaira. Ominaira means freedom in Yoruba, which is where Equiano was from.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
If you get one of that, good luck. Because it's only 3,000 for the whole world. I'll say what to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I expect a single vintage 1998 in return. Any more questions? Yes. Drinks are okay? Well, guys, if there's no more questions, guys, you've been amazing. Thank you. Let's do this again when I do another run. Let's do this again if I do one. No, I've never been vodka. But anyway, yes, thank you guys, and hopefully I'll see you inside the show for some more drinks. And yeah, some cocktails. I think I'm mixing cocktails somewhere. Anyway, well, thank you again.